Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming along here on this Sunday afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Rachel. I'm a vocal feminization coach, and I've been teaching vocal feminization classes for around about the last 3 years. Absolutely adore it. It's such a huge passion of mine. And so here today, we're all gathered together to, sounds a bit like a wedding, all gathered here today. We're all gathered to have a little bit of a workshop. We're going to have some different people come up from the crowd to help address different problems that they might be experiencing. Now, formally, with this format, what we've been doing is asking people to go ahead and fill in a little bit of a form to register their interest. Today, we're going to experiment, and we're going to allow each and every one of you, if you would like to, a chance to come up onto the stage. So throughout different points, I'll be asking for volunteers and for you to raise your hand, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. If you are thinking of volunteering as well, there are a few different things that I'd love you just to double check to make sure that we can hear all of your voices really nice and clear. In the sound settings inside of VRChat, you should be able to find where it says background noise suppression. Please do make sure that is turned off, and also make sure that your mic activation threshold is all the way down and that you're on push to talk. That would mean that we can hear everything that you'll be saying in the session. So throughout the session, I do want to ask that we keep chat in the crowd to a minimum, just out of respect for everybody, because it can get quite loud when you're in amongst it. But please do feel free to explore the rest of the academy if you would like to have a chat, absolutely. So a little bit about myself. As I say, I've been teaching vocal feminization lessons for around about the last 3 years. My voice originally...
Well, it was right the way down here. I didn't think that there was any way that
I'd be able to get a voice that made me feel like me. But voice is so flexible. It is so plastic. There's so much that we can do with it. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about safety, some different things to look out for. We're going to then go into talking about some key terms that we'll be using today. Then we're going to get the volunteers up and on the stage. I'd also like to thank all of our fantastic Patreon supporters and Discord supporters as well. Without you, this wouldn't be happening. So thank you all so much. And I also just want to make sure I can hear everybody. Can everyone give me a big old hello, please, on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, there we go. Great.
Hello.
Perfect. Alrighty. Can I get a quick show of hands, by the way? Who has been here before? Who has came to one of these classes before in the past? If you can raise your hand.
I've been here for 5 minutes.
Perfect.
And then it ended.
Welcome. Good. And who's coming here for the first time today? Who hasn't attended one of these before? Cool. A couple of newbies. Awesome. Cool beans.
I can't raise my hand right now because I'm in desktop.
No problem. Cool. Okay, so diving into it, let's talk a little bit about safety and some things to look out for. So for those of you that have been here a few times, I'm sorry, this is a bit like Groundhog Day, but it's so important when working with voice that we make sure that we're nice and safe. So first of all, nothing that we do should hurt. If you find that you've got any pain when practicing these exercises, or perhaps when using your voice out there in the world, please do stop what you're doing and let a professional like myself or another voice coach know what's going on. There is a saying, no pain, no gain, but that definitely does not apply to us here in voice work. We are going to gently start to raise our voice into the target zone. And if you feel like you have to squeeze or push or force anything, that shouldn't be the way it should be feeling either. So no pain. And as well, no tension, no tightness, no squeezing, okay? We don't want to get squeezing. We're trying to hit these high notes. We're going to go up there nice and gently. Outside of that as well, if you find that after using your voice that you've got any sort of unintended change to how it feels and performs, again, that can be a sign that something is not going right. So please stop what you're doing and let someone know. Some things that can be included on this list are things like sounding really hoarse, like, oh my God, it's like I've just been to a Death Grips concert and I can't talk. Some other things as well, if your voice is suddenly quite a bit weaker or if it feels really shaky, again, that's not meant to be happening. If you find that you can't get as loud or as quiet as you used to be able to, as high or as low, again, any unintended change to the feeling or sound of the voice, stop what you're doing and let someone know. It is rare. I haven't had any one of my students have any vocal issues so far, touch wood. I don't want anyone here to be the first as well. So something to keep in mind. Some other things that are really going to help as well are hydration. The vocal folds, the right divas, and they love to be hydrated. If they're not hydrated, then it can be a little bit of a problem. Can I get a quick show of hands? Is anyone in the crowd here on spironolactone as an anti-androgen? Yep, a couple of people. Cool. So you'll know especially we need to keep hydrated. Spironolactone can be a bit of a problem for hydration generally. It causes us to shed a lot of water, so we need to make sure we're keeping on top of our fluids. It's best if you can drink a glass of water around about an hour before a practice session, because it does take quite a bit of time for everything to reach the vocal folds and to affect mucus production the way that we want it to. As well, practicing first thing in the morning is going to be tricky. Morning voice is definitely a thing, so please do try and save your practice until maybe half an hour at least after you've woken up, and that should help to make things a little bit easier for you. As well, all the obvious ones, all the fun stuff, we need to minimize it. So alcohol consumption, minimize that if you can. Caffeine, minimize that if you can. Smoking, vaping, tobacco, cannabis, anything else, we want to try and minimize that as it can irritate the vocal folds. Now, I definitely think that this is a voice that you should be able to use in your life generally, so you don't have to give everything up cold turkey, but if you find that you're hitting a little bit of a wall with where you're trying to go with your voice, it's a good idea to address some of these things. Alrighty, finally as well, if you have had any sort of vocal injury, or indeed if you have something called GERD, which is all about acid reflux, again, that can affect the voice. So bear that in mind as well as we go into this. So before we move on, I'd just love to ask, does anyone have any questions on vocal health or anything like that there? Any questions at all? No? Cool, cool beans, awesome. With practicing generally, we want to use our voice every 50 minutes, have a 10-minute rest if you can, especially if you're in a job like customer service. I used to work on the phones doing broadband tech for a company many moons ago, and oh my gosh, that tires out your voice. So again, try and see if you can get 10 minutes vocal rest every 50 minutes of voice use as well. This is a marathon and not a sprint. So if you find that things are moving slowly, that's all okay. It does take time for us to acclimate and get to where we want to be. And as well, with the different volunteers I'll be having on stage today, you may find that you're not able to perform at the same level that they are. Everyone's goals are going to be different here. Now, I definitely believe that anyone, as long as we haven't had any sort of vocal injury, can get a voice that consistently gets the she, her on the phone. Although I believe that anyone can do that, the road is different for everyone. So if you find that I have someone up on stage and they're aiming for a certain something and you're not quite able to hit it, don't worry. Go to where you feel comfortable. And over time, they'll get higher and higher and higher, whatever the goal is. So this class is going to be focused on vocal feminization. For those trans masks out there or non-binary people who are looking for something a little bit different, I hope you can also find a little bit of benefit from some of the different techniques and verbiage that we're going to be exploring with the voice. Okay. So as we get into this here, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different words with voice, a bunch of different things. There are three big ones that we're concerned about when we're talking about vocal feminization. The first one is pitch, which is all about how high or how low the voice is. So, we all know that one pretty nice and easy. Can I get a little go over this from the crowd? If we all start from a kind of comfortable low note going up to a high note, I'm going to count you all in on 1, 2, 3, and we'll see if we can all give this a go together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Something like that, please. Beautiful. It sounds like everyone's shocked and amazed. It's great. Cool. So that's our pitch, how high or how low we are. We also have different gears in the voice. We're going to call these M1 and M2. My M1 is everything from here to there. I also have my M2, which is kind of like my Mickey Mouse voice, my falsetto voice, the high note and take on me, and that's all of this sort of stuff here. So in this lesson, we're going to be focusing on M1 rather than M2, unless otherwise stated. Alrighty. So that's pitch in a nutshell, how high or low we are going. We also have something called vocal weight, which is all about the level of oomph and drive within the voice. So this one's always really fun to do with the crowd. I'm going to ask you all to imagine your cutest, most favorite animal in the world. It's absolutely adorable. It's got these big old eyes. I want you all to give me on a count of 3 a really nice, really soft. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Perfect. Now imagine that cute little creature. It's just thrown up all over you. It's terrible. There are chunks. It is really bad. I want you all to give me a really nice big ah. On a count of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah, please. Beautiful. Good. So that last one is a big, heavy vocal weight. It's all about how the vocal folds are coming together. Vocal folds, vocal cords, same diff. It's the exact same thing, the thing that makes the sound in our voice. So we want to have a lighter vocal weight generally. When we have a low pitch, we generally have a heavier vocal weight to keep that thing going. Like,
If I go down here, it's much more in the ah territory than ah territory.
it's really kind of hard actually to maintain a low voice with a very light vocal weight. But so we maybe, if we've been exposed to testosterone and using a lower voice for some time, we're used to speaking with a lot of umph and drive in the voice. If this is a problem for any of the volunteers, that's something we're going to be looking at, is reducing that umph and getting closer to ah than ah. It's the idea. Cool. So our final thing here is all about resonance. A quick show of hands. Who might have heard of resonance before when it comes to vocal feminization? Yeah, a few people. Cool. Cool. Absolutely. And who is very not sure on what resonance is? If you can give me a big hand, no shame in it. But if you're like, actually, I've heard of it, but I'm not really sure what's going on. Yeah, a few people. Cool beans. Awesome. So resonance is something a little bit different. Here we go. So far, we've been talking about pitch and weight. Both of these things are happening within the sound source, which is our vocal folds that create the sound of our voices. Resonance is all about the passive effect that the filter has. Everything above the larynx, everything above the vocal folds, everything above the voice box is our filter. If that space is really big, we get what we call a very dark sound.
Hello, hello, hello.
If that space is really small,
Hello.
hello, we get a brighter sound. There are a few different places of relevance here. We call these R1, R2, and R3. Most of the magic happens in our R1, which is where we're going to be raising up the voice box, raising up the larynx, making that space in the throat smaller, giving us a brighter sound. We also can go ahead and brighten up by making our R2, our mouth space, smaller, and R3, getting our lips out of the way. For example, if I make an ooh sound, very pursed lips, ooh, if I then move my lips out of the way and give a big smile, ooh, ooh, we can hear a much brighter sound. So by raising up the larynx, raising up the tongue a bit too, reducing space in the mouth and moving the lips out of the way, we can control resonance. Now, it is a tricky skill. Of the students that I tutor, it's one of the things that can be the harder ones to get right. But don't worry, it just takes time and practice and you can get there. If you'd like more information on resonance after this session, you can find this in my second and third lecture over on the Academy Video on Demand on the YouTube channel. And there's loads of info there all about resonance. Cool. Okay, so we've talked about the main different things. I think it's around about time that we get our first volunteer up. So normally I would have a list of people to pick from, but what I'm going to do now is just ask you all to raise your hand if you'd like to come up on stage, have a little bit of a go. If you've been working on your voice for a little while, let's have the first person, someone who's not perhaps brand new, but someone who's been working a while. Aurora, you're like dead center in front of me. How about you come up on stage and we give them all a round of applause, please? Woo! Oh, that was pitiful, guys. Come on. Bigger than that. There we go. Awesome.
Hi.
So, what we're going to... Hi, welcome. How are you feeling, Aurora? How are things?
A bit nervous. This is the first time I'm on
Yep.
on stage.
Mm-hmm. No worries. The stage does that to people. I mean, like, gosh, I remember my first session here. I couldn't sleep for like a day afterwards. It's super spooky. So well done in coming up here. It's not easy. What we're going to do is set 10 minutes on the timer here. So when you hear the timer go off, our time's going to be up. We're going to take a little look at resolving some issues of seeing where your voice is currently and how we can kind of move past the state that it is in now. So the timer is just starting away there. So can you tell me a little bit, Aurora, how long have you been working on voice? Are you new to it? Have you been working on it a little while? How have things been generally?
Well, I started about 2 months ago, like from the fourth uh, thing you held
Mhm.
here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Uh, I was on and off for like a month before I actually started doing it more regularly,
Mhm.
and yeah.
Cool, 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 cool. So, what sort of things have you been practicing with? Is the voice that you're using at the minute kind of the voice that you've been practicing with, or is that something a little bit
No,
different?
no, it's not.
Cool.
It's
No
not.
worries. Well,
Uh,
would you be comfortable doing a little bit of reading in this voice of yours, and we'll see how it is and where we can go from
okay.
it.
Sure.
Awesome. Can you see what's on the screen as well? I know that some of our questy besties in the stage may not be able to see what's on the screen. I'm sorry about that. And we are working to see about a solution with that. But on the screen is a little bit of the rainbow passage, which is just some sample text to read,
I
really.
don't see the rainbow passage.
Oh no, okay.
Not
Cool.
available
I'm gonna
yet.
write a few words here really quick. When
I see picture.
the can you see this pen by the way as
When the
well? Just to
sunlight
double check.
When the sunlight
Oh yeah.
strikes raindrops in the air,
Oh, you're way ahead of me.
something, something,
Perfect.
something.
No worries. Well, what we'll do is I'll do a bit, then you do a bit. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to go up to your target voice for me. I'm gonna, if you can repeat after me, something like this maybe. When the sunlight
With
strikes,
this voice,
raindrops in the air.
with this voice, or
Uh-huh.
uh, or the,
Oh, in
or
the
the one
target
I've
voice,
been.
please. Yes, and the one you've been working on.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cool. Take it away when you're ready.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colors.
Beautiful. Well done. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So hearing a lot of good things there. There's a lot of movement in the voice. The melodicity is really, really nice and flowy. It's not monotone at all. And the pitch is really nice and raised. So really, really, really good start. The pitch to me, to my ear, sounds like it's in the target zone of where we want to be aiming for. But to me, the weight also sounds really nice and soft, really lovely. Resonance seems to be the main thing here for me, and getting that voice to be a little bit brighter. I think you might be further along than you think you are. It's really, really good as a foundation. So, what I would like to go ahead and do is have a little.
Okay.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was shown, yeah. I was shown about a week or two ago
Mhm.
an exercise to deal with the resonance.
Awesome.
I don't know what it's called. It's basically this.
Mhm. Mm.
Which I then follow up by trying to lower the pitch because I get it
Mhm.
really high when trying to get my larynx up, or
Mm.
whatever
Mhm.
this is
Mhm.
called.
Yeah, sure, for sure, absolutely. You're spot on. It is the larynx. You're absolutely right. So when I'm hearing that exercise is that you're right. I do think it's getting a bit brighter, but as you say, that pitch really is coming up with it. And one of the main things we can work on when starting out is trying to separate each of these different components so that we can change one and then have the other ones stay exactly where we want them to. So I want to see if you can maybe mimic me here. I'm going to go up to this note, which I think you should
Okay.
be able to hit no problem. And we're going to see if you can give me a bit of a change in resonance. So first of all, can you match me on this pitch with a lovely old ah sound? Ah.
Ah.
Cool, you're almost there. It's going to be a little bit higher. Can you give me one of these? Ah.
Ah.
Beautiful, you're right there. Hold that in your head. Okay, we're going to go for an ah sound still. We're going to take a really nice big yawn. The yawn makes all of the space here really nice and big, and it's a wonderful starting point for us with our resonance exercises. So take a big old yawn for me. We're going to hold this note in our head, and I want you to try and repeat after me, please, here, Aurora. Here we go. Try that for me. Beautiful. Cool. Now we're going to go from that really big space with the yawn and go up and up and up with our resonance. And for all of you in the crowd, feel free to try along with this here with your mics muted. That would be great. Here we go. Ha, ha. Can you try that one for me, please? Cool. Did you feel on the last one that the pitch just went whoop? We had the two pitches, really lovely in the first and
Yeah.
second, and there's a little bit of a jump. Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to
Yeah.
play this note again for you after each time, and we're going to see if I can keep it a little bit more consistent. So repeat after me with each one, please. Starting nice and dark. And your turn. When you're ready. A little bit higher up again. And once more. Cool, 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 cool. So what I'm hearing at the minute, that's it. That's the one. Great. Okay, we're going to go again. Again, a little bit brighter. Have a listen. Ha. That's the ticket. Awesome. Now I want to go back to that ah, and we're going to try and read a little bit of that when the sunlight strikes again. I want you to go really slow through each individual syllable, and we're going to be listening out for when the resonance drops the most. Have a little listen here.
Okay.
Ah, when the sunlight strikes. Please, when you're ready.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they
Really
act
well done.
as a prism.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So really nice. The ah was around about, I'd say 60% of the way there, maybe 65. But then when we went into the when, it started to drop. I heard the dropping mainly on the when and the sun. I want to focus on the sun sound though. W's can be tricky. We're going to focus on the S. First of all, let's try and move that S up by itself. Can you give me a little one of these? Please. Good, good. Start even darker. Please. Beautiful. We're going to take that last one. We're going to go for sun. Try that, please, for me.
Sun.
Good, 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 good. The pitch wanted a little bit. It was definitely brighter than it was before. Once again, we're going to raise the pitch back up a little bit here. You're doing great, by the way, Aurora. Thank you so much. Here we go again. Sun, please.
Sun.
Good, 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 good. Awesome. Definitely getting brighter, but still a little bit of movement with the pitch there. No worries. Okay, the last little thing that I want to do with you here is to try and see how you are with these whisper exercises, just moving the resonance by itself. We're going to take the word sun in its totality, the whole word, and we're going to start really nice and dark. I'm going to move it up and up just with the whisper. Have a little listen here.
Sunlight.
Sunlight. Sunlight. Can you try that for me, please?
Sunlight. Sunlight. Sunlight.
Good, good job. Absolutely. Okay, I want to focus on that light too. Can you give me one of these?
Light.
Light, light. And really try and get the most brightness that you can out of that lovely light sound, please. Good, 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 good. Can you try going in 4 steps for me? You're doing really good, and you're almost where I want you. But I want you to get even a little bit brighter. Once again.
Light.
Light, light, light. Okay.
Light.
There it is. Good. We're going to repeat that light just by itself. Again, we're going to aim for this note here. Have a little listen here. We're going to whisper it twice and then try and go into the voice without changing the shape of anything at all. Light, light, light. Please.
No.
Nice and bright. Yeah.
Light.
Okay, cool. And the pitch is just starting to wander again. No worries at all. So really, really, really good work. Now, what we found here is a bit of a conflation with pitch and resonance currently. What I would advise for you is to change up the exercises that you're using. You can definitely move your larynx really well. I can hear it moving great. And a lot of the common issues that I encounter aren't there at all. So you've got a fantastic foundation. It's whoop, and there's our timer. This is about doing a little bit more of it. So if I can get everyone to give Aurora a big round of applause, please, and then we'll wrap up with this one. Thank you so much. Woo! Beautiful work. Thank you so much. You're really, really
way
close.
better if I had full body. Yeah.
Okay.
you
Thanks.
did
Good
great.
job.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Alrighty, so to talk about that there and some things to pull away from. Aurora had a fantastic starting position. The voice was in the target pitch range and it didn't sound squeezed, it didn't sound forced, it sounded pretty darn nice and relaxed when it was up there. The melodicity was good, it was moving freely. It wasn't like she was riding the ceiling of where she can go with her pitch. It sounded pretty free, so pitch I wasn't too worried about. Vocal weight as well, the sound was lovely and light and soft. It wasn't too heavy or pressed to force at all. So 2 things, check, check. Then we got the big one, which is resonance. We could hear that as Aurora started to talk, when the sunlight is more of what we got rather than when the sunlight. When we start to be able to control resonance a little bit more, it is going to transform the foundation that you've already laid. It's really, really good what you've got going. So we got into doing a few different exercises. We tried to go ahead and scale the resonance from dark to bright while keeping the pitch the same. It's a tricky thing. Something that can really help to try and solve this issue is, of course, going back to some of the whisper exercises that I've been talking about through my time on the stage. Big dog, small dog, whisper, siren, both really, really good. If we feminize the whisper, we feminize the voice. So if I have a big sunlight, it's going to sound like sunlight. If I have a very small sunlight and I go for a sunlight, it's going to come out sounding really lovely and bright and femme. So working on the whisper is going to be really, really helpful. We can do that with a selection of different vowels, as you see in the screen. We can go for like an or like. Outside of that, though, we need to start to pull apart the association between pitch and resonance. We found that as we started to try and get brighter, that often the pitch would start to waver. Now, I do think a big part of that was nerves because it is hard being on this stage as well. But if some of you in the crowd recognize some of this pattern within yourself, you're like, I'm trying to get brighter, like Rachel says, but things are getting wacky and moving around all over the place. Try using a pitch tracker. What you want to see is that your pitch stays nice and level as you go from dark to medium to bright. We want to keep that pitch really nice and the same here throughout. What we don't want is this. For the dark ones to be lower, light, 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 which is kind of what was happening there. As the brightness came up, so did the pitch. So we want to see a nice straight line instead, rather than that wandering. That's really going to help out. I think you're really close. Keep up with it, Aurora. Keep up your practice, and I think you'll be there in no time. Really, really, really awesome work. Cool. Okay, so I would love to know, we covered quite a bit of things there. Does anybody have any questions in the crowd about that little demo, about what we were doing? Any questions at all there? You can raise your hand for me, please. No? Cool beans. Any questions on the chat at all there, Shay, as well?
We do have a question from the Twitch. It's not related necessarily to what was just asked, but someone asks, if you have had your tonsils taken out, does it make changing your voice harder?
Good question. If you have your tonsils taken out, does it make the change in your voice harder? In theory, it shouldn't. There is a part of what we do with resonance, which is called oropharyngeal closure, where we take something called the palatopharyngeal arches and we bring them closer together. If we imagine that this is the mouth here, this is the uvula, and then this is the mouth, okay, the back of the mouth. The tonsils are kind of like a little bit forward, so they're around about this zone. And we have another wall coming in here, okay? So the tonsils, again, this little line that's in between here. When these get removed, we should still have what we call the palatopharyngeal arches in place. These little walls is kind of advanced, but we can actually move these to be closer together. In theory, this should be unaffected by a tonsillectomy. You should still be able to do everything just fine. But I would say that if you've had the operation recently, do take some time off. There can be a lot of swelling, and swelling can last longer than we think sometimes. I've known people to have operations and it take a full year. God, especially with like FFS and things like that, it can take a long time for swelling to go down. Same with the tonsils. So it shouldn't in the long run, but it will in the short term. I hope that helped. Any other questions
Perfect,
online, by
thank
the way,
you.
Shay, or is that all of them? Perfect.
That's all for now.
Cool beans, cool beans. Okay, so for my next volunteer, I would like someone who's hit a little bit of a wall with their practice. Maybe they've been practicing for a while and they've got a little bit of a problem. Does anybody in the crowd feel that way, that they've been practicing for a little bit and they've just got like a little tough thing that they can't quite get past? Anybody in the crowd for that?
Maybe I can.
Yep, Sasha. Yeah, why don't you come on up? If we can give Sasha a big old round of applause, please. Woo!
Go,
Okay.
Sasha.
We can go.
You got this.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I don't know if
So,
it
let me
counts
just go.
though.
Oops. No worries. Let me just go ahead and start my timer here. Alrighty. So, what was your question? Sorry, Sasha. How are things been?
Well, kind of okay. I mean, I'm trying to control a bit my range.
Mm-hmm.
I could never find in the place where I come from someone to do actual lessons about this, and the ones that I found online never helped that much.
Oh no. Okay.
So mostly I've been trying to practice by myself to reach a better pitch and try to soften a bit my voice, and that's
Yes.
this is mostly what I've come. This is around the range that I've found. The one that I'm talking right now in. I'm a bit of lower range, and sometimes like yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I don't.
Yeah,
do
no
this.
problem. Honestly, it's so fine. I think everyone on the stage gets really nervous. There's no worries. Part of the thing. So, from what I hear there is that you've been working on your voice a little while. Online resources haven't been terribly helpful, and that you've finally been trying to raise up your pitch, but it's getting a little bit tricky. Do you find that like you can't quite go as high as you would like to, or is it just that you're a little bit lost with where to go next? Which would you say it is?
I think it's more where I'm lost to go next, and the fact that every time that I try to go a bit higher, it turns very forced. It just doesn't
Cool.
sound
No
like
worries.
a natural voice.
Yeah.
Also,
Cool.
I have the tiniest bit of practice I've had with voice acting. I don't know if that can help, but
Oh,
not too
definitely.
much.
Yes.
Just a summer course.
Cool, 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 cool. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, some things that
Also,
I'm hearing in your voice. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
sorry.
off.
Also, I don't know if that's gonna be a problem, but I'm not an English native speaker, so I don't know if that might be a problem in it.
No problem, no problem at all. Is your accent Italian, by the way, can I ask? Or am I way off the
Yes,
mark?
exactly.
Cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So the beauty of these skills that we develop is that although there will be some differences, some accents are darker than others, for example, like Dutch and German, they can be pretty dark. Some accents and languages have different sounds. Like in French, we have a lot more of a sort of thing going on that we need to change.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that all of it is transferable. You may find that we need to move things a little bit more subtly in different areas of resonance as you get more advanced. But for now, not to worry, you should be just fine. So, what I'm hearing in your voice is that there is definitely a lift that I can hear. But I can also hear quite frequent end of phrase drop offs as well. So this is something that I hear really commonly is that people will be talking and then it feels like, okay, I need to end the sentence and then I'm going to kind of bring it down. And we start to trying to stay in the feminine range, we start to just drift a little bit out as time goes on. I can also hear a little bit of what I think you're describing as well, that the voice sounds like the balance between, it doesn't sound fully comfortable yet. A big part of that will come with time, but what I would love to do is to go through a few different pitch exercises with you just to see how we can kind of move through our range here and how it's sounding as we get higher and lower and what sort of things are occurring. So for this, what we're going to be using is an SOVTE. That stands for Semi-Occluded Vocal Tract Exercise. They're really helpful. Loads of stuff online about them here. You can find out all sorts, and also in my first lecture here at the Academy. But what I'd like to do with you here, Sasha, is to start off with a rolled R. Now, with you being an Italian speaker, I hope you should have no problem with this one, but can you try and give me a nice old please? Beautiful. She's a natural. Perfect. Cool. So what we're going to try and do is move through a few different sounds here, a few different pitches. And I just want to see what happens as we get higher. If you feel that things are starting to get a little bit squeezy, do tell me and let me know if anything's uncomfortable. Now, I want to start just with going from a low note to a high note, really quite arbitrarily. Can you give me something like this? Please.
Okay, I'll try.
Nice, cool. So there's a nice big range there. We're going to try moving through some specific intervals. Have a listen to this. See if you can match me here. When you're ready, nice and slow. Good, 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 good. We went a little bit higher, but it was still lovely. I want to go a little bit lower again. Have another listen to me. If you can match me here. Give that a go, please. Tell me when you're ready. There it is. Beautiful. Cool. So you can definitely pitch match. Lovely. We're going to try a little bit higher. Have a listen to this one for me. It's going to sound like this. Okay, if you can give that a go, please, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll try.
Good, 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 good. I'm starting to hear a little bit of an increase in weight as you go up. I want to do that once more. Try and imagine yourself getting softer as we go up. And those notes again, this is what I'm listening out for. Nice and soft, please. When you're ready, take it away.
Okay.
Good, 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 good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult would you say that high note is there for you, Sasha?
I don't think that much.
Cool. Good, 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 good. Alrighty. Next little challenge. We're going to go up to this note. We're going to start off with a tongue roll. Then we're going to go into counting. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you're ready, if you can give that a go, please, for me.
Okay. Let me check the pitch first.
Yeah, I can get that again, Pete. A little lower. You're right there. That's it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So close. It went up, and then when you start counting, poof, came down just a little bit again. Here we go once more. That laugh was great, by the way. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good, good. Now we're going to do that once more, but we're going to get softer as we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Softening out as you count up, please.
Okay.
Doing great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Beautiful. Now
Take a
take
bit of
that
a
down.
breath.
Yeah, don't be afraid to breathe in. Absolutely. It's so easy to forget. So that was really lovely. I was loving what I was hearing there. I want to see if we can get that more consistently. Now, can you see what's on the screen, by the way, Sasha? Can you see these words up there?
No, I don't. I don't
Darn!
seem to.
Oh, no. Okay, we're going to try this. We're going to try, if you can repeat after me, we're going to go for the first sentence here. By the way, as a quick show of hands in the crowd, who can see what's on the screen?
It looks like vocal
Yeah, a
folds.
couple of you. Interesting. It shouldn't. It should
I
be. Let
think
me
the screen
rethink
is
here.
desync for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry about this. Okay. Alrighty.
Okay,
Have
there's
another
the
listen
rainbow.
here. Beautiful.
Yeah, there's the
Good.
rainbow.
Thank you. Alrighty. We're going to go back to that. Remember that softness at the end of that 5, and I want you to read all the way up to air, please. Sounds like this. When the sunlight strikes, and take it away.
When the sunlight strikes, airdrop in.
Good, you got it. Raindrops in the air. Go on, finish it off. You're almost there.
Raindrops in the air, they act as
Raindrops in the air. They
Good,
act as.
absolutely.
At what point does they end?
You got it. I was just to add, but perfect. Okay, so I want to see if you can do that a little bit more long form for me. All right, your job here is to go back to that lovely softness, back to that wonderful pitch, and I want you to read all the way from when the sunlight, all the way to colors, please, for me, Sasha. Here we go. Nice and soft, take it away. All the same pitch, as consistent as you can, and don't be afraid to breathe in. When you're ready, give it a go.
Yeah. When the sunlight strikes, raindrop in the air, they act as prism and form a rainbow. When the
Keep it up.
rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colors. I think I dropped
Well done indeed. That's awesome. So that timer was just going off. Can I get a huge round of applause for Sasha, please, everyone? Woo! Really, really, really lovely work. Beautiful. I'm going to keep you on stage just for a minute, Sasha, just to kind of debrief you on this one here, because I kind of got way into the exercise and ran out of time. So, beautiful work. Did you feel the difference of like softening out and having that lovely balance as we started to get down into those higher numbers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed that. I also noticed that it was kind of harder a bit to read the harder letters.
Were there any letters that were specifically difficult?
I believe
Or maybe
the
just some of
D,
them?
maybe the D and the T a bit more.
Good, good. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. I think I would agree. I heard especially as well on the light that light and started to thicken up just a little bit there as you got into it. Thank you so much. So as you continue to work on your voice, I think that your primary goal number one here is going to be softening out and getting nice and consistent. Italian has a lot of energy and emphasis in it, you know, and we're really used to letting things build up on a sort of consonant. What we want to do is have it all nice and flat. We want it all to be nice and smooth in our delivery. We don't want to allow pressure to build up inside of our mouths as much. So things like light, for example, light, it can start to and pop out, or the D, division, and it can really encourage us to get into a heavier position. I want you to try and get that nice, smooth quality to the voice in your practice going forward. Thank you so much. If you can take a seat, please, for me, Sasha. That was
I got
wonderful.
a
Really good
question
work.
First,
Yes, go for it.
Before I go, I've noticed that I've started to go in a little bit of a kind of a melody kind of thing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It depends on the application. So for you at the minute, when we are looking at, and this goes for anyone out there in the crowd as well that might feel some of the things that Sasha demonstrated too, if we are feeling that the voice is sounding somewhat ineffably just strange or not comfortable, or there's something going on with it here, it's a good thing to try and strip out all the other variables and focus just on what's happening with the problem variable. So we kept the pitch the same. We went ahead and didn't care too much about the resonance, but we just focused on that weight, on focusing on keeping the voice really nice and light. So for that purpose, going ahead and keeping that pitch really nice and consistent is a good thing to be working on. Later on down the line, there's going to be the additional work of going ahead and keeping the pitch moving and having more melodicity in there, but also stopping yourself from falling off at the end of sentences. Now, that's a bit of a different skill set and a little bit of a different problem, but before you tackle that one, I'd really recommend trying to get things sounding lovely and feeling lovely with a nice, consistent pitch. The pitch that we were using there, by the way, I think we're all the way up onto a B3, so really lovely and high. You can do this anywhere from maybe like an F sharp 3 up to a B3, but I really wanted to push you a little bit because your pitch work was phenomenal. So really good job.
Thank you.
If I can get another round of applause for Sasha, please. Woo! Really well done. And if you could retake your seat for me, please. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so again, just to recap on that one there, a lot of good things in place, but the pitch, starting to get that feeling more consistent and more comfortable. By building that up, we started out with an SOVTE. The SOVTEs are a fantastic way for us to find a configuration of our voice that is optimal. The very way in which SOVTEs work is that by creating some back pressure up at the top of the vocal tract, up at our mouth, we start to create some back pressure above the vocal folds, above the things that are moving. When we do that, it helps to align them better, it helps them getting moving more optimally. It helps to teach us what is happening with our breath. Are we using too much breath, too little? And it also gives us a lovely, safe environment where we can explore. Exploring both how high we can go and also exploring releasing tension. When we are untrained with our voices, very often what we do to try and achieve the goals and the results that Sasha demonstrated at the end, a nice smooth voice at a high pitch, we often start by squeezing and pushing and tightening, and you'd be amazed at how much tightness can live in our bodies. Anywhere from like our face, our jaws, our shoulders, our tongue. All of these things can tighten up, and we want to go ahead and reduce that tension to get a really lovely, soft and sustainable, comfy sound. So outside of that, the next steps going forward should be mastering that on a fixed pitch, then starting to move it around and looking at those pitch fall-offs. Now, before we move on, I'd love to know if anybody has any questions about what they just heard and the different techniques that we use to try and resolve some of those problems. Any questions there? No, cool beans. And Shay, are there any questions online as well at all? Oh, yes, sorry.
hands are
I
up.
didn't see you there. Hi there.
Hi. You mentioned about the pitch tracker earlier. And you can use it to like keep track of your pitch, and you're doing this pitch exercise where you're like staying on the same pitch. Would you recommend like mastering that first before really getting into resonant stuff like big dog, small dog, and all that?
Yeah, good question. Good question. So again, to rephrase that question for everyone that might not have heard, I'll come to you right in a minute, Poison, as well. The question there is, should I focus on keeping the pitch flat, keeping the balance of the voice in place before moving on to resonance? And I would say that absolutely that's a great idea. You can also start to work on resonance with these voiceless exercises while you're still perfecting that. But absolutely, I would say that pitch is like foundational to the voice. It really, really is. And so if we're finding that it's hard for us to produce our voice at a high pitch with a lovely soft weight consistently, then adding resonance into the mix is only going to make things more tricky. As we change the spaces that exist within our throat, mouth, and lips, we are also going to have a backwards effect onto the vocal folds themselves here. If we aren't used to accommodating and for this and using our vocal folds at a pitch just standard, then when we start to reduce the space and have this change in pressure, it's going to make things trickier too. As well, if you have any sort of existing tension and squeezing when you're trying to go to those higher pitches to begin with, resonance may only make things worse. So I would say definitely, in order of importance, or like some of the things you can get down first, SOVTEs and being able to comfortably speak with a light vocal weight in the target pitch. And again, that's anywhere between maybe an F sharp 3 up to like a B3. That should be going first, but you can also do your whisper exercises in tandem. Great question. Really love that question. Poison, hi, you had a question over there as well. How can I help?
Yeah. Would you like recommend like getting a recording software, speaking into it, and then listen to your voice? Would you recommend that?
Massively so, absolutely. And the question there, would I recommend going on ahead and getting some recording software and listening back? Yes, 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 5,000% yes. Our voice as it lives in our head sounds really different than as it exists outside in the world. We get a very scuffed image of what we sound like by just listening to ourselves inside of our heads. The sound will reverberate throughout our bones, our sinuses, our inner ear, and we get a completely different perspective. This is why even if you're not trans and you hear your own voice, you can be like, what is that? That's not how I sound. It's so different. So just like if you were practicing painting or if you're practicing playing guitar or something like that, you need to look at your drawings to be able to see what is going wrong with them. So please do start recording and listening back as early on as you can. Voice memos on your phone can be great. Audacity on the PC is free and it's really perfect for this stuff. But it's worth mentioning, if you're using a phone, it may not be the best representation of your voice because the mics can be really tinny and the speakers can be really tinny too. Best thing to do is to use something like a dedicated microphone with a computer to be able to listen back accurately. You can also go on ahead and use live audio monitoring, which is something I'm a huge fan of, where you can hear yourself live in real time as you do these exercises, as you sound in the room. Massively beneficial as well. Some solutions to that, the Blue Yeti mic. I'm a big Blue Yeti shill. That's really good for this. You can just plug in your headphones into the mic and you can start to hear yourself live in real time. Or you can also use a different mic and an audio interface. Lots of options out there. But thank you so much for your question. I feel like there's another question around here somewhere. I might be wrong.
I have a
Yes.
follow-up.
Hi, Claire Crossroads again. Hello. Yes.
What software would you recommend for looking at the formants of your voice?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question there, what software would I recommend for looking at formants? Formants are collections of energy that exist within something called the harmonic series. Basically, when we have a sound, we have lots of different ingredients in that sound. We don't just have a pitch. Kind of like ingredients in a cake. You've got your sugar, you've got your flour, your milk, and etc. And depending on the different amounts of these ingredients, the cake's going to come out different. It's the same with the voice. This is all about resonance. As we change vowels, our formants change. As we make space smaller or bigger, we change our resonance, the formants are going to change. It's quite advanced, so don't worry about it if you're like, oh my God, what is this stuff? You don't need to have it necessarily. But what I would recommend is Friture, friture.org. It does require some configuration, but you can really see that stuff light up really nice. There are some programs that do like Informant that have formant tracking, and you can actually look at it with some analysis in there, but I've had very mixed results with those programs. They require a lot of configuring to get that to be accurate. So Friture is great. I'd recommend that one to start out with, or any 2D spectrogram. As long as you remember to change the minimum and maximum volume to accommodate for your input, then you'll be able to get a good image there. So thank you for your question. Any other questions, Shay? Any online as well?
Looks like we're all good online right now.
Oh, good. Cool, cool beans. Right. So I've got just enough time to have someone up for a little bit of a shorter moment. I'm going to have someone up for 5 minutes next. Oh, it's Sheris. Hi. Another question?
So
Oh,
you
I see a few
mentioned
more
the
as
Blue
well.
Yeti microphone because you like that microphone because of live feedback, but what about in VR? Is there something lighter and smaller that you could put on a headset?
Yeah, great question. Not that I've seen so far. I'd love there to be. I don't know yet. I haven't looked too much into it.
Okay.
There are things that you can use, like voice meter, to be able to reroute your audio. So you could theoretically use voice meter to give yourself live feedback, but doing that, there might be a little bit of an input lag. And whenever you've got input lag and you're like, hello, hello, it completely throws you off. So great question. Not sure, I'm afraid.
I've tried doing the same thing with OBS and I've had the same problem, so I'm looking for different solutions.
Absolutely. Something that might help can be using something called an ASIO driver. The Windows sound or Mac sound is often not the best to start out with, but if you use something like an ASIO driver, which is some free software available online, you can get a much more streamlined response. So I'd say maybe look at using ASIO for all with something like voice meter and reroute your audio through the headset, and that might work. But it's a bit of an experiment because I've never done it before. Thank you so much. Oh, and also in a pinch, one thing that you can also do is take your hands and just cup them behind your ears. You're also going to be able to get a great response of how you're sounding there. So again, like a big old cup shape, put them behind your ears and tilt them towards your mouth. And you're going to be able to get more of a sense of how you're sounding as well. It's not perfect, but it's definitely something. Alrighty, any more questions around here? I saw a few different hands fly up. Nope, 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 nope. Please do shout out if I've missed you. Alrighty. Oh, yes. Hi,
Rachel.
Suki. Hello. Thank you.
What's your opinion on using gaming headphones on the Oculus?
Yeah, using gaming headphones on the Oculus is not something that I've ever done. If it works, fantastic. It's going to be the thing. It depends on the gaming headset. There are some that can sound really, really tinny. The best thing you can do is compare yourself to how you're sounding with a decent dedicated microphone and then to your gaming headset. And if it sounds tinny and like kind of like a phone on a gaming headset, it may be best to switch over to something else. It's going to be best for you all to have the best kind of most accurate recording equipment you can to start off with as you're practicing, because you may find that, my voice is a lot warmer than I actually thought it was by listening to this stuff here. Cool. Alrighty. I'm just looking at the time. We've got around about 5 more minutes. So I'd love to ask, outside of this, does anybody have any general voice questions as well? Any other just general questions? Yes, Small Poison, hello.
Yeah, so, would you recommend estrogen to, like, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, estrogen has been fantastically helpful in managing my dysphoria, in helping with my transition. I think it's a really personal question. I think that like HRT isn't right for everyone, and there's a lot of factors before we kind of realize that it's the right path for us. Of course, there are things like infertility that comes with it, and I just say really do your research before you decide what is best for you. Yeah, but for me, it's been tremendous. Like, I'm much happier now than I was before. With regard to the voice, HRT won't unfortunately have an effect on the voice generally. Once someone has been exposed to testosterone, that's it. The change is kind of one way. We can't undo the change without surgical intervention. So, great question. Depends on you, but have a good old think about it because it can be fantastic. Any other questions as well around here? Hello, hello. Any other questions?
I have one.
Cool. All
We have a
right.
question here,
Yes,
Rachel.
please. Oh, go ahead, Aurora, please. Yes.
Yeah. Uh, do you have any advice for building endurance?
For what, sorry?
Do you have any advice for building endurance?
Oh,
As
building
in to
endurance.
be
Yes,
able for longer?
absolutely. Great question. Cool, 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 cool. Absolutely. So, for building endurance, one of the things that can really help is time spent using the voice. SOVTEs are a great shortcut to get there. You don't need to practice SOVTEs for very long either. Even just 10 minutes a day, using both sustained 10-second long notes and moving through your range dynamically, as discussed in our first lecture, can really, really help over time to build up the voice and your coordination and strength. Outside of that, though, for building endurance, there can often be some different factors and problems that need to be specifically resolved. So, for example, I've had plenty of students that when they've tried to get brighter, that they have quite a bit of tension. And so if you're speaking with a fair bit of tension and you're really tight to be able to use this voice and it takes all of your concentration because it's not being done optimally, then we need to take a look at some relaxation techniques and ways in which we can get your resonance acting more optimally without you using different tissues and muscles that are going to tire you out. There can also be general problems with endurance just from the amount of time spent up there and using the voice. So for me, when I started, I spent so much of my time working on voice in Discord and right here in VR chat as well. At the start, I could probably go for like a 20-minute conversation and be like, oh my God, I'm knackered. This is really hard to maintain. But as you start to move on with your voice for longer and longer periods, you'll find that it can start to really get a lot easier. So for me, for example, I often teach 5 lessons in a day. That's just 5 hours of straight talking, and it's a lot, but I can still use my voice at the end of the day. This is the voice that I wake up with. This is the voice that I use throughout my life, and over time, it gets easier. I'll also say that a lot of this just comes passively from using the voice. Once you're ready and you feel that you've got a voice in a position where you're comfy with how it sounds, maybe not completely, but you've got a voice that feels more like you, start using it more and more. The more that we commit to using it, the more results we're going to get. So it started off for me with 20 minutes here and there, then maybe an hour. Then I was just talking to people for like 3 hours at a time, and then a little bit more, and over time it grew and grew. As I say, I've been teaching for around about 3 years, and I'm still finding now that some things are getting easier for me now, 3 years in of teaching, than they were last year and the year before. I often talk to my students about this idea of voice being like a wheel. At the start, we have like this big old square. We try and like cut the corners off and get something a little bit more circular. And we keep on going, and then maybe we've got something like an octagon. Those last little sides that come off, this is all just from using it. By using the wheel, it rounds and rounds and rounds and gets better and better and better. So some of it is not intentional and like active practice. It's all about using the voice passively and committing to using the voice as well. Can be really, really good. So a bit of patience, also some targeted exercises can be fantastic. Any other questions? Over here, please. Any others? Yes, Crossroads. Hello again. Oh, I'm going to go to Faze, please, just because I had a few. Hi, Faze.
Yeah, what would you recommend for someone who wants to slowly ease into a more femme voice, in order to accustom other like people, like acquaintances and friends over time rather than making a sudden switch?
Okay. So the question there, how would you recommend kind of easing into the voice and making slow adjustments rather than like just making a big old switch? I would say that it is far easier to make the voice a discrete set of behaviors and have it be a different mode than it is to slowly move and move and move. There's a few reasons for that. It's a lot easier to celebrate the victories. It's a lot easier to see the problems as well when we have all of these things in the target zone. When we start to try and get a gradual transition from one voice into the other, maybe one day I start talking like this, and then the next day this, and then over time, that slowly these things start to all come together. And I'm here. The thing about that is that habits are so tricky to get rid of. Old habits. We've been talking this way for years, years and years and years. And when we have something that's maybe halfway, it can be very tricky to have the perception and the discipline to stay out of areas that are more mask sounding. It's possible. I would say it's way better to go ahead and just practice the target voice, get up into the range, and then make the switch. I'd say, of course, when that switch does happen, it's not just like a light switch. For me, I had my voice sorted online for ages, and I got she heard everywhere I went. It was great. And then it came to me like using it at work. And I kid you not, it took me like 2 weeks to be able to like get there because I'd be like, hi, yeah, you're free to blah, blah, blah. How can I help? Yeah, no problem. Blah, blah, blah. And I just keep on dropping back because of the mental space, because of the head space, and trying to be able to resolve internal transphobia and shame and be able to trust my voice more. So it's easier to get the voice sorted out, make the switch, than it is to go gradually, but it's not impossible to go that way. Right here, everyone, I'm going to have to wrap up here because we are just about at time, but I want to thank you all so, so, so much for coming along this Sunday and spending some time with me. I found some things that have been helpful for you all as well. We will be having another one of these classes next week. We normally have them every 2 weeks, but since I'm going on holiday for a little while, we're going to make this one a little bit closer together. So I'll see some of you all here again this time, same place next week. Apart from that, I want to thank you all so, so much and wish you all the very best of luck. You guys have got this, and thank you so much. All the best. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All the best, everyone.